In this video, I show the entire process of a brand new illustration from start to finish, from sketching to making the final collage. I also have a play in my sketchbook with some gouache and some watercolour painting some pretty birds, and just generally work on bits and bobs of my job like making prints and sending orders, and finally finished with some embroidery, which I've been getting into in my free time. Here is February's Patreon print. If you would like to receive a print of this in the post, pledge to the little snips tier on my Patreon page at any point before the end of February, and all the prints get sent out at the start of next month. I'm planning on starting a new illustration today. I think I've figured out what I'm going to do, but it took me a while to get here. I feel like I'm just in a little bit of a limbo at the moment. I've just finished working on two kind of decent sized illustration projects. I designed that birthday card there. There you go. Designed that card. Just finished a bunch of like character designs. I can't bother opening the sketchbook. Children's book character designs. I just finished all them, and now I've just kind of got a few kind of loose days floating around. We look at the calendar, so 24th today, and then next month I've got a couple commissions lined up, so I know I've kind of got that to work on, but I'm not going to really start that till next month, so I've kind of got just like a few awkward days here. I'm like, I don't really know what to do. So I thought, let's just make a new piece of art, because it always comes in handy to have a nice new piece of art under your belt. So I did loads of looking on Pinterest. I had no idea what to even make. This is my massive mood board with loads of different inspiration for various pieces. My plan is this will be a Patreon print. If I go to Patreon, here we go. And this is every single print I've made since the start of Patreon. And I was looking through them thinking, what should I do for next month? Because I do have a piece of art I could use, but I figured I might as well use this time to try and make something even better, because it's seriously lacking yellow. I was just looking at this, it's mainly, it's a lot of blue, let's be real, it's just a lot of blue. Whenever I'm planning on starting a new big illustration, I just do loads of kind of practice sketches first. Let me show you an example. Like that, just like a bit of a brainstorm. That was for the card design. I'm kind of in that stage at the moment. I'm hoping by the end of the day I will have my papers painted and I'll be ready to start collaging with them with a plan. So I'll kind of take you through that process today. I've just been doing sketches. When I know I've got to collage quite a detailed animal, I find it easier just to like draw it first to figure out the shapes. Like I was looking at my old sketches because I was drawing this morning. I'm like, I don't remember how to draw. I don't remember how I draw. So I looked back at my old sketchbook just to try and like remember how I would stylize my drawings. So I kind of stylize them and I imagine them being a piece of paper, and I kind of picture in my head how I would cut out the shapes, and that helps me like kind of stylize my drawings. I have sketchbooks just fully dedicated to just pencil, where I do just all my sketching. This is the newer one. And this is kind of where all my ideas are born. Alright, so here I am just doing a little bit of sketching. I've already kind of spoken about this. Past me has already spoken about this. But yeah, I was just planning out a new illustration. I love to sketch out an idea first, and especially when I don't really have an idea of where I'm going. Obviously, sketching has a big hand to play in coming up with ideas. And because I was trying to figure out the composition, I was struggling in my sketchbook because my sketchbook was quite small. I was doing like these tiny, like an inch big thumbnails. I decided to draw them bigger on a sheet of A4 paper. What I ended up doing was just dragging these into a Photoshop file, and then I could easily position them exactly where I wanted. They're all very similar with slightly different changes. Traced them very roughly onto a piece of paper, and now I'm going to try and fill in the gaps. I've decided I'm not even going to bother with this fourth one because I think there's something good here. I am stuck though between, oh, this pencil's so shiny, it's hard to get it to look good on the camera. I'm stuck between this one and some of the first one I did and the last one I did. This one is nice, but I don't know, I just think there's too many swirlies, if that makes sense. I don't know, maybe I can try and merge the two together. I mean, it won't be hard when I'm collaging to just kind of shuffle paper around. Once I was happy with my sketch, this is now the following day. I'm not really sure what days things were filmed on. I've just kind of been filming bits and bobs on random days, really. And when I painted a bunch of paper, not that much actually, I think maybe a total of 9 sheets, just because I needed specific textures just for the birds, like the gradient underneath the eye there, that needed like a really particular kind of orange to red gradient with kind of feather textures on it, so needed to paint something specific for that. But for a lot of the piece I was just using papers I already have, because I have this massive folder just filled to the brim. To be honest, it's full, it's starting to break, and I need a new way of storing paper, really. I've been looking online for better storage solutions for my paper, but they're just all quite ugly. And I want something that also kind of looks nice. So I'm struggling a bit to find something to store all my copious amounts of paper, because I'm painting them a lot more than I'm using them up. Anyway, moving on to the collage process. I won't talk too much about it because you can just see what's happening with your eyes. And I've spoken about this in many videos, my process. I have quite a few tutorial videos, like how-to videos, and yeah, I won't go over the same kind of spiel again, but cut out my block shapes, shuffle things around for hours and hours until I eventually commit to sticking it down. I add detail on with coloured pencil and my Neocolor crayons. Obviously the birds, as you saw, I did the sketching at the start of the video. Then I traced my sketch and just broke it down into its like simplest kind of shapes, and I use this as a template to help me cut out the right shapes, which I then just stuck the paper on top of. That's how I do the birds, because they're quite complicated. It helps to have some kind of guide to cut shapes to. And then everything else was just cut kind of free form, because they're quite easy shapes, just blobs and sticks. Right, yeah, let me talk about, I guess, this video. I'm going to probably call this video a week of art, but reality, it's probably been filmed across, I reckon it's been about 2 weeks now. I just kept forgetting to film days, and there were days where I weren't really doing anything exciting, so I didn't really film it. So yeah, this kind of is a mishmash of 2 different weeks. Oh, this bird, I had to do a bit of surgery to it. It was too long, too big, too bulky, and I just decided, you know what? One of the upsides, the pros to collage is, just cut it up and stick it back together, and it looks fine. So I did have to cut that bird in half and make it a little bit shorter. Oh, this collage was, in this video, it looks quite seamless and it just comes together so naturally. But in reality, I spent about like 4 hours shuffling paper around, trying to follow my sketch, and I just hated it. It was way too busy. I was trying to do too many things. I had just like these different kind of flower shapes. I had different types of berries, and it was just way too busy. So then I swiped away 4 hours worth of work. And then I also did a live stream as well. I did a 2-hour live stream, like real time, of this piece over on Patreon. And in that live stream, I'm just like complaining the whole time about how I spent 4 hours working on it and I hated it and had to swipe it all away again. But I got there in the end, and I simplified it a lot more, and I actually really like this piece now. And obviously this is February's Patreon print. That's the reason I was making it. But yeah, took a bit of trial and error, but I got there in the end. Okay, so I finished this yesterday. I like it. It's nice. Let me fill you in on what's been going on. This is going to sound really dramatic when I say it, but it's fine. But basically, I haven't had fun making art for quite a while. Obviously, there's like fun bits in it, like, adding like the finishing details to a piece is always, quite fun, and, it's like that with art. Sometimes it's fun, and other times it's like, just I hate doing it and I never want to do it again. That's just the world of art. And yeah, so I've not had fun making art for a while, and as much as I love collage, it is not the most, it is a bit of a frustrating process. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's frustrating cutting out tiny little pieces, and it sticks to your fingers, and it's slow, and sometimes I just want to like slap some paint around. And I love collage, I'll always do it, well, I think I'll always do it. Never say never, or never say always. But as far as the foreseeable, I'm always going to do collage. I just really like the way it looks. But sometimes I just get the urge to slap a bit of paint around, and really I should be doing. I've got some collages I should probably start making, but I just can't face it right now. I just want to slap some paint around. I've had this feeling for a few days. Well, not even a few days, a few weeks, months perhaps, where I just want to slap some paint around. I got my big sketchbook out. I'm planning on painting some really loose, they'll probably be bad, and that's okay. I'm just going to show you anyway. Some loose, very painterly, very quick, just fun birds. I've got my Himi gouache set out. I really like this set of paint. I don't use it very often, but whenever I do, I have fun, and that's what I want to do today. I want to have fun. I can't tip it too much. There you go. I am going to be printing as well. I've got so much printing to do today because I've got to prep the Patreon prints to send out. So basically, I'm going to tend to the printer every now and then. It's not really hard to just, you know, pop some paper in the printer and check that it's doing all right. And then in between that, just like paint a bird, and we'll see how it turns out. It might be rubbish, but let's get going with that. Okay, so yeah, moving on to painting some gouache. I start with the first two birds I paint are in gouache, and I go over them in colour pencil, and then the third bird I paint is in watercolour with a tiny bit of gouache detail. I love this paint set. I got it a while ago. I did it was like a sponsored video I did about it, where I just had to review what I thought of the set, and I had a lot of fun with it in that video. And since then I've done a few bits and bobs with it. I mainly use it to add like little details to things, but I just really have had an itch to do something a bit more finished with it, or just not just use it as like a little detail on top of like a collage. I wanted to just fully use these paints. Obviously I did a bit of pencil as well, but I just always really enjoy them. How long have I had these paints now? A fair few months. Basically the whole deal is that they never dry out. They're supposed to not dry out, and so far they've been holding up to that claim. I'd say about once every 2 weeks I open the tray and just spray it with some water and then close it again, and that's been fine. Some of the paints are getting a little bit thicker, so I tried to revive them in a little bit, and I just sprayed a bunch of water in, let it sit there for a while, and then just stirred it with like a little toothpick, and it was basically back to normal. So if you would be interested in kind of a more in-depth video about these paints, how they've been holding up over time, because I know a lot of people have these paints or are interested in buying this set because they're quite a popular set, I'll happily make that because I like using them and I have fun when I use them. So if you want an updated how have these paints been video, yeah, let me know in the comments. All right, here I am moving on to my watercolours. These are Winsor and Newton watercolours, and actually there's a bit of gouache in there as well. Did I even use the gouache? No, I didn't. I kind of squeezed gouache out of the tubes and then let them dry up, and then I put them in my watercolour set, and then basically just use them like watercolours. But I think for the bird I mainly just use watercolours. Oh, and then in between my painting, of course, I had printer duties to attend to, so I was trimming paper on the guillotine. Oh, it's a bit bright. Where can I go? There's a little sliver of shade there. I'll stay perfectly still here in this gap. All right, so I'm just prepping print. You might be able to hear the printer wearing off in the distance. So I'm gonna be hopping between bird and prints. So I'm just trying to figure out the best kind of, this is really boring, the right colour profile for my print. This is really not gonna come across on camera, but the first one I printed, can you see the difference? This one is a lot more saturated than this. I say a lot. It's not, it's just me being picky. I printed it like 3 times to find out like the best colour option for it. Do I need to up the brightness, up the magenta? Yeah, boring. This is the perfect print setting. And now I'm just going to print a bunch of them. So I'm just going to like attend to the printer every now and then work on my bird. All right, back to the final bird. Yeah, this one was mainly watercolour with a bit of gouache. I just love drawing birds. They're kind of like my comfort zone. Or painting birds, they're just my comfort zone. I enjoy them because I just feel like you can't really go wrong with a bird. Even if you paint it a bit wonky and bad, it still kind of looks good. And I think with the second bird I painted, I wasn't super happy with how it turned out. So I went in afterwards and painted this background behind it and just added a bunch of swirls, which I really like to do. And it looks so much better after I painted in that background. Yeah, it needed that dark colour behind it to really make it pop. And then I kept this page just really simple, one bird on a branch. This sketchbook probably isn't the best for, well, it isn't the best for watercolour. It's quite thin paper and it buckled quite a lot. If you want to know the sketchbook, it's a Ryman sketchbook, and that's all the information I know about it. The one I was sketching in right at the start, where I just do pencil sketches in, the little A6 one, that's also Ryman. That's just the smaller version of the A4 one. I like them. The paper's got a nice bit of texture to it, and they're really cheap as well. Bit of spinach, some peppers, kind of wrinkly tomatoes on a pizza. Yeah, it's always bugged me my whole life, and I've never said it out loud before. What you open? Oh. There's always a little part of me that hears a plastic crinkle and assumes someone's opening a chocolate bar, and I get excited. Remember when I really hurt my neck at the store? Hello. Here we have some embroidery stuff. It's quite a few days later now. I was working on this big illustration for I think around 3 days, but I filmed it all for Patreon, so obviously that's what will be featuring in this video. If you want to see how I made it, it will be a video on Patreon. I made it for this, I can't bother going into it, but I made it for a particular reason. I stayed up very late last night and I worked through the weekend. So I'm just really exhausted now because I haven't had a weekend, and I stayed up till like 1 o'clock last night, just frantically trying to get this illustration done. So I've decided to treat myself today. I've done a little bit of work this morning, and now I'm just going to do some embroidery. I would like to share with you my embroidery. I've been getting into it recently. I used to do quite a lot in the past, but it was always just like cross stitch embroidery, following instructions from existing kits. I always enjoyed it, but now I've just got the urge. There's this artist I follow on Instagram. I'll pop some of the work up on screen. It's beautiful, and it just really inspired me to do embroidery, but this time I don't know if this has a different word. I'm calling it maybe freeform embroidery, but I'm just kind of making it up as I go. I did a little sketch, planned out a little bit of like, just went through and picked some colours. I bought a big set of, I've got so many colours in here now. Got every colour under the sun. These are the colours which I've been using for this piece. There you go, these are the ones that I've actually used. And I'm just gradually, bit by bit, working my way through. There's going to be one more kind of beetroot here, another radish up here, and then maybe, if it needs it, maybe like a little parsnip or something, and then it'll be finished. But I'm really happy with it. So I'm going to film a little bit of my embroidery. I won't film this very often in videos. This is something that I just kind of want to do in my free time. I don't really want it to be something that's kind of work related. This is supposed to be my hobby away from work. That's the back side. You see the mess that goes on back here. Yikes. But the front is very nice and pretty. I love this carrot so much. Okay, I'm finishing off this video with just a bit of embroidery. Like I mentioned, this isn't going to feature heavily in videos. I don't even know if I'll ever film it again. But it's just something I just had the itch to get a new hobby, because obviously art was my hobby, and then it became my job. So when something becomes your job, it in a way kind of loses a little bit of that fun, because there's now the pressure of this has to make me money. So I just wanted to have a hobby again, which was creative, which I could just do completely away from work, and share it on Instagram every now and then, and maybe film a little bit of it here and there, but just something nice for me to do. I love doing embroidery because you can just chip away at it, sat on the settee, TV on, and it's just relaxing, and it's something like you chip away at bit by bit over like weeks and months. This was quite a small embroidery, and I'm actually surprised at how quickly I managed to get through it. I thought this was going to take me months and months to do. Yeah, I mean, I guess what I was embroidering, it wasn't very ambitious, and they're quite small little things, so I managed to get it done a lot quicker than I thought. Well, technically, it's still not finished. I'll show you it in a minute. Well, it was supposed to be finished, and I'm looking at it, and I realised that maybe I should add a few more vegetables, because originally my plan was to put this on in like a square frame and cut the fabric into a square and maybe stick it to like a board so it doesn't like fray, and that'd be the finished piece. But I took it out of the hoop, and I realised that the fabric is just really puckered and looks quite bad if it's not in the hoop. So I decided, right, I should probably keep it in the hoop, but now it doesn't really fit the shape of a circle very well, so I'm probably going to have to add in a few more parsnips, maybe like a little pea pod I was thinking could look cute. But yeah, that's a little look into my recent hobby. Well, it's not a recent hobby, I used to do it loads, but like I said, it was cross stitch. This is my first time I've tried it, making it up myself. But I hope you've enjoyed seeing a little snippet of my past, I think 2 weeks, maybe 1.5 weeks, I'm not sure. I've just filmed days here and there. I don't really know the time scale on this video. Right, like I mentioned, if you like to receive that Patreon print in the post, pledge to the little snips tier on my Patreon page in the month of February. And that's it. Thanks for watching. And if you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe and like. And that's it from me. Bye.